So, Renata, thank you for the introduction and invitation to present to you for this brown bag lunch. I think it's very special for me to be here since this is my first visit, and I've always wondered what the office looked like. And I've heard so many different stories about the new remodeling process, and it's very cool. So, thank you all of you for the work that you guys do. Really, from program side, I really can't function without the support of everyone, whether it's from finance to HR to IT, communications, etc. So thank you. So I'm delighted just to share with you the work that we do. I think I'm as curious about this office as you're probably curious about what we do in Los Angeles as a program. The focus of our work in Los Angeles is youth. So the focus is youth leadership and civic engagement. And our goal is to develop youth leaders who participate in the transformation of their schools and communities into a peaceful and healthy environment. Our objective is to engage youth in a participatory process that results in youth-led community action. It's very much grounded in a Quaker process, building consensus with youth as opposed to determining what that project will be. And so you'll see how we implement that method, that approach. Why youth? Why do we focus on young people in Los Angeles? Because they face a number of challenges that youth maybe across every major urban metropolitan city face, which is they're vulnerable to violence, and there's a sense of desperation. Just a few facts. 1 out of 2 students in the LA Unified School District drop out of school or do not graduate high school in 4 years. There have been reports by MIT, Harvard, and UCLA about the statistic, and it's been that way for about a decade. And California ranks, I think, 46 in the country in terms of education. 1 out of 6 Latino males born in Los Angeles are likely to go to prison during their lifetime. That rate is actually higher for African American males. That's 1 out of 3 African American males are likely to go to prison. And 1 out of 4 LA youth between the ages of 16 through 24 are both out of work and out of school. So they're not attending college, but they're also not employed. And so the work that we do is to provide opportunities for young people to be plugged in and to feel supported and to build their community. So we work with about 75 youth of color mostly, Latino, in communities throughout Los Angeles, as well as African American youth. We work in 3 areas. I didn't list the 4th because it's in downtown, but 3 areas. One is a housing project. It's a low-income Section 8 housing project in West LA. Another is a center called Central High School in South Los Angeles, and another high school in East Los Angeles. And I'll describe in more detail each school. They're each unique and different. Our focus and our approach, we focus on 3 different aspects of our peace education program. One is personal, interpersonal skill building. This is the ability of young people to communicate with one another, so we use team building games and exercises to facilitate that. We also work with young people to analyze their landscape, understand their community, what resources are in their community, and reflect on those social justice issues. And the third part is after they identified a social justice issue or problem, they'll develop a civic engagement project to address the issue. And this can happen over a course of 3 months to a year. And I put down there below the curriculum resource and model. So when I started, I looked at different curriculum that were being used by AFSC previous. And one of them was in Baltimore using the Help Increase the Peace curriculum. So we used that. We found there were some limitations, though, because after we had done the exercises, we thought, okay, now what? And there were issues in the community that the HIP manual didn't address. So we started looking at the public achievement model, which was used in Gaza. And Tricia Selleck had came by through our office, and I spoke with her one-on-one about her program and how she had worked with college students. So we have college interns who work with us at our different sites and mentor the students, but also help develop these projects, which you'll see in 1 minute. And then, just by chance, we're in the same region as New Mexico, which has developed farms. And our project was influenced by that as well. And they have a curriculum for young people, or a curriculum to build gardens, which ended up being one of these civic engagement projects. We have a little logo up there that was made by a graphic designer, which is the head, the heart, the hand. So we try to address all three different parts of the youth holistically, meaning we want them to understand issues, analyze issues, think critically about their community. So that's the head part. The heart part is a willingness to serve, a desire to serve their community, give back to their community. And the third is the hand, which is the actual action. You know, service without any heart or compassion is really empty, but when you have a compassion, you understand why you're doing it, it has more meaning. So they're not trying to fulfill requirements to graduate. They're doing this because they want to. So we dubbed our project Roots for Peace, and it's evolved over time because there's so many different facets of it, and metaphorically speaking, but also literally, as you'll learn, we're planting seeds for justice and peace in schools. So one of the sites that we work at, I mentioned, was a Section 8 housing project, and you can see in the background the projects. There are about 3,000 residents in these projects. The median income is about $15,000. The school site that we work in is a one-room classroom. It used to be an elementary or preschool, so you can see the playground area. And when I went over there, when they decided that they wanted to build a garden, that was the project that they approached our staff with. This is what we saw, just a little small plot. And it required some vision, it required labor and a lot of planning because I had no idea how to start a garden. But this is the process, and this, I think, sort of captures the essence of what we do and how we do it. This is a member of our area committee. Her name is Sheila Fenoy. She's a volunteer for the American Friends Service Committee. She's also a professor at Santa Monica College in biology. And she's presenting to the students and talking about the process of building a garden. And right here, by special invitation, is the director for the Section 8 housing project. And which makes this unique is that the Housing Authority had been slow in helping the school develop a garden. And so what the students did was they invited him to hear their proposal for building a garden. And after that presentation, he decided that he would help. And within 2 months, they installed the new plumbing, which took 5 years. 5 years, they struggled to get what they did in 1 day right here by inviting him and making this a direct action. Another part of his work was education. We didn't want them just to start planting seeds, but understanding soil analysis. You know, what is some of the chemistry involved in that work? Here's the process as it's developing. You can see the plot that you saw before was just weeds and grass, then measuring the dimensions of the garden, and then installing a drip irrigation system. So all hands-on. And just as background, we had worked with them already for almost 9 months. So we had developed, as I mentioned before, these relationships. We were using Help Increase the Peace workshops, developing a sense of trust. And at this point, they were ready to go forward. Here they're working with compost. They're not happy about it. I don't know if you guys work with compost. If this is like visual and auditory and everything, you can smell it. This is 3 months later. So you remember the picture I showed you? This is the harvest of kale and lettuce, green onions. And that's his first phase. There's a second phase. So after we tested the drip irrigation and whatnot, we decided that didn't work. So we decided we wanted to go with a more advanced look or function, which was creating raised beds. And you can see in the back, we just started growing seedlings themselves as well, and also expanding it and going outwards. But very much a team process, a cooperative project, them working together. Another part of our work was not just building garden, but also building the furniture, building the patio furniture. All of this donated. Everything you see here is in-kind donations from Home Depot, from small businesses, even an award that we received from the Subaru of America, a national award for our project work. The man right there in the back, his name is Phil Way. He's a professional carpenter, and he's showing the youth how to build these tables. A former restaurant owner owned the posts, the table posts. And this is a photo of Carlos Gomez. I think he's one of our stars. He was featured in Quaker Action. He graduated, and now he's working as a community organizer in Los Angeles. And what he's doing a seedling giveaway to about 500 residents. So they grew these seedlings, and they're helping educate the residents about eating healthy. but also educating them about how they can become empowered. Because remember, I told you about how the Housing Authority has put restrictions on growing food. Well, it wasn't just applying to the school, but applying to everyone in that Section 8 housing project. They weren't allowed to. So residents who grew food over like 2 feet, it was completely stripped out and without notice. And so we're working on this project to reverse that. Here's an exchange between the students from South Los Angeles. Partnerships are an important part of our work. This is Chef Zaid Farid from Morocco. He's a French-Algerian chef, and he's with the students, and he did a demonstration with the students. There he has kale that he took from the garden, and we developed a partnership where we would grow food and donate it to his restaurant, and he in turn would give lessons on culinary art and cooking. And here's a photo of them at the culinary school. It's nearby, about 10 minutes from the school, and they're learning how to make, I wouldn't say the healthiest food, but they learned how to make French toast. They enjoyed it, and they loved the food. And so we try to go there at least 3-4 times out of the year. Another special part of our work, and a very important part, is our work with college students. And this photo here is with about 20 college students from the Azusa Pacific University. And since I've been with the AFSC, I've worked with Azusa Pacific University for 4 years, in which we've had 2 interns, 1 or 2 interns intern with us for 4 months, for 15 hours per week. And I can tell you, every part of my work, they have built a blog, they've made a 3-minute YouTube video, they documented our work, evaluated it. Here they help the students do a participatory action research project to survey residents about their eating habits, about their desire to improve their community, about growing their own food. Are there enough grocery stores in their area? So it was part of a food justice movement in Los Angeles. And so some of the teachers too. Some of the things they found in their participatory action community research project, 48% of the residents indicate that they see more fast food restaurants in their neighborhood than grocery stores. 51% of the residents surveyed reported that their family and children eat from fast food restaurants at least once per week. And this other statistic is very important. 55% of residents surveyed reported that members in their family household have diabetes, high blood pressure, or high cholesterol. The issue of food justice permeates all aspects of a family. It's not just an economic issue, it's also a health issue. And I remember polling the students. I would ask them, how many of you know someone in your family who has diabetes? And I would say 4 out of 5 kids would raise their hand. And it's stunning to see, that type of, when I do that type of poll. 66% indicated an interest in learning about gardening, which is one reason why we had the poll, is to make a case back to the Housing Authority to say, you should change your policy. So next month, we're actually going to Long Beach, another Section 8 housing project where they actually built a garden. And we're going to use that as a model to tell them, hey, it's possible. We can do it. Another city has done it. And then that's the policy banning at the bottom. So they're going to plan to gather these evaluations from their poll. They're going to interview some residents, and then they're going to go to another site and interview the person who manages that other garden and other housing project. So they have a case that they can make to the director of the housing project. So that was Mar Vista, Central High School there. That was a one-room classroom, about 20 students. This is Central High School, a continuation day school. The best way to characterize continuation day schools, they cater to quote-unquote at-risk youth. These are youth who haven't performed well in traditional high school settings, and usually by advisement of their counselor or principal, or by choice because of family circumstances, they will go to a continuation day school. It's just one-room classroom. It's the same curriculum, but there's just more support. Some of the students we work with are single parent mothers. Some of them have just exited out of the juvenile correction system, and others, because they've been harassed by gang members, can't attend one high school, so they elect to go to a school like a continuation day school. So this is Central High School in South LA. Here's a photo of a group circle, again, help increase the peace workshops. It's vital for us as a program to build a sense of trust with these young people. We really can't do our work without their buy-in, without them feeling as full participants and having ownership of the work, and knowing each other and respecting one another. So communication games are a foundation, a cornerstone of what we do. And it's also just a tribute to what AFSC has done, since the 90s in Baltimore and today, how we can carry on that work. The planning phase, here's them dreaming about what they want to build and then and designing it. This is a design, and this is special because this is one part of the garden. They had dreamed of building a second part. And this story is 2 years in the process, and I'm going to show you how it's become manifest through this presentation. Hands-on, everything getting donated and everything built by the students. We want to really inculcate in them a sense of responsibility and also empowerment to say, we're not going to just build it for you and then you fill it up and just water it. No, you take over everything. So Phil, who was the other carpenter at the other site, helped out here. Here's the students planting. She's featured in one of our videos. And there's a harvest. So this is one side of the garden. This is a volunteer, a master gardener, who's been with us for about 2 years. And this is a teacher, Kathy Masaoka. I met her while doing a project for commemorating our relationship with the Japanese American community. And she just happened to be the teacher of this school as well. And we developed a good rapport and working together. And she retired. And just as a testament to how great this work was for her, she ended up volunteering at the garden. Now she's in a year into it. But she couldn't pull herself away from it. So she comes in at least twice a week supporting the garden. It has all these ideas, which we can't do. There's the bounty. We've had city council members come by and see the work. And people in the community see the work and appreciate it. Here's a harvest that we did with the community center. The school is located in a community center, and that's one of the unique things about this project. It's a community center that serves about 1,000 people a month through a food giveaway. It's a multifaceted community center. They have a daycare. They have workshops for drug abuse rehabilitation, women's support circles. So here's one of our youth working with some young kids. And what we've done is integrated the high school program into the community center as well. So it has deeper implications on what we do. And here's some students. Participate in health fairs. Going back to the idea of the food deserts I mentioned earlier about food and how it impacts health. This is just a study that the students prepared just to give an idea of how many fast food restaurants are out there in South Los Angeles, 303, compared to 15 supermarkets, and then you can see how many liquor stores there are. South LA is making a huge shift, and it's a collective effort of a lot of different organizations trying to reverse that, where it's more supermarkets or it's more specialty food stores serving healthy food and not fast food restaurants or liquor stores. There have been moratoriums, for instance, on liquor stores and the opening of them. So this is the culmination of that second half. So when the students first started, we only had enough resources to build on that other half, the first half. And then we said, you know what, we can't invest more. This is really about the community. It's about what they want and how can they plan to bring it and get it. It turned out, through our work, the mayor of Los Angeles got a hold of it and decided that they were going to fund the second work. So this was a great thing. It costs about $1,000. It's not about the price of it. It's about the symbolism of it, is that you want people to recognize it. And when the mayor of Los Angeles says, hey, we think you're doing a great job, it was part of a day of service the mayor had sponsored. And so they gave the money, and they paid for all the tools. They paid for the soil, the wood to build the raised beds. 11 families contribute to building this garden in one day. And what was so amazing was watching some of the fathers build these raised beds, which take us usually half a day. They assembled it so fast, it was incredible. Phil Way, who was our carpenter, just stepped aside and said, wow. And some of the things they said about it, and it was just universally, the parents were saying, this is great for my kids. That's all they said. It was like, now my child can learn to eat healthy. And that's all about reversing this trend of diabetes, of high cholesterol. When parents can do that, it can be passed on from from one family member to another, from one sibling to another. And that's how I believe we make change, is being in one place and going deep in our roots. We're a staff of only 2 people, and this is Crystal Gonzalez, Peace Education Coordinator. It's by investing in one place that we can have that long-lasting impact and change. We call it asset building, not just for the community or people who see this garden and become inspired, but also the people here who take ownership of the garden plots. So each family has a garden bed. And the next year, we'll have another lottery. So this is site number 3. This is the last site where we've built the Peace Garden. Again, Roots for Peace is more than just gardens. As you can see, it's multidimensional. It's about how we can impact and integrate ourselves in a community. Not just teach kids how to build a garden, but how do you teach other people to become inspired by what you do? And a lot of this is word of mouth. I can't say that we go out looking for high schools. High schools come to us and ask us, hey, we've seen what you've done. Could you come out? And so an organization, the school asked, Lincoln High School asked us to come out and see their work. And East LA, much like South LA, is an underserved community. The school just this year announced that they're going to cut their staff by 40% because of budget cuts in Los Angeles. So it's a very steep, and we know that this is this place in need. Tom Moore Development came by with Ziba Marashi to see the site. The day that they came, they shut down the block because there was a shooting in that area. And they already leave just in nick of time because they closed off the whole area. But this is an area that is pretty much just, can be described by violence, by gang violence. And it's an area that we feel like we need to be in. Again, you've seen a photo like this before, where they're building, hands-on, they're planning. This is working with the master gardener. We want the students to feel that they have a voice, that we're not cookie cutting a project. We're not saying, hey, this is already made. Look what school number 1 and 2 did. This is about you and what you want to contribute to your school and to your community. There's the garden being built. Them learning about the process. And this is, to me, typifies what we do and why we do it. Again, it's not about the gardens. Before we got there, I showed you that picture. This was all empty. What we did intentionally was work with the students to build benches. And one of the things they said was they wanted to have a seating area. And the seating area is really for them to learn, to create an environment so that we can teach them about social justice issues, talk to them about health and wellness, talk to them about the violence in their community, what they can do to change it. And what we're going to do for the next semester is actually expand it so that other classes can come in and sit in this area and hear more about the work that we do nationally, internationally. So we've created, just transformed that area. And then here's the students working together, harvesting the food, and then sharing it. So they become advocates. I remember I said that one of our goals and objectives about our work is youth leadership. And you know, these students, first, they start off thinking, I don't want to eat these greens. Not only they eat it and started preparing it, they're sharing it with other students during lunchtime. So you can't see the other line, but there was another line for the cafeteria food and then another line for the salad. And they proactive, make an announcement. One thing they said they wanted to do, and it's not something we said we're going to do because we have no experience in creating murals, but they said they wanted to beautify their space. They wanted to enhance it. They wanted to give their school more life and their community more life because this street that they face opens up to the residential block. So we found a local artist to help them design their plan, to think about a project. And this is not like a typical mural. Most murals you can just go to a wall and just sketch it out and fill it in. This is done on, I think, some type of like a wallpaper where they actually are working to design it, and they work to design it and then they're filling it in, and it could be glued on just like wallpaper. This was about, I would say, a 5-month project from beginning in which they were thinking about the images and what kind of images they wanted to put on there, and then securing the resources. And there it is in the background. So this is Daniel Ruiz. This is a small portion of the students. We worked with about 40 of them. In the background, there is a child emerging from a seed. And it's called, seed rising, I believe. And in the back is an Aztec calendar, because a lot of students are of Latino background, many from Mexico. A sun rising, and then in the back is the skyline of Los Angeles. And I think that's the City Hall. And then corn. And you can't see it here, but we also had a border representing the Chinese American, Asian American community as well. And it's one of the students.
It's amazing the transition from the last slide to this slide.
Oh, yeah.
That's the same thing.
And we shared this slide with the Gaza youth. Peter took the picture. We sent a greeting to them. Because we told them that a lot of our work was inspired by the Gaza Youth Program, because we work with a large number of youth for a long period of time like they do. That program work is about, I'd say, 80% of what we do. We do additional work, collaboration with, for instance, Wage Peace, the $1 trillion contest. We also do work around raising awareness about military spending. So this is one of the demonstrations that the youth did, a public one on Hollywood. And so whatever opportunity arises, we want to remain active and present and have a voice and keep these youth engaged. We've made a $1 trillion video contest for the first time, finally. So we're happy we'll contribute it for next year. And I didn't upload it, but there's two things. We have a blog site, which you can find all these photos, but also the stories of the work. It's called rootsforpeace.blogspot. And that was made by a college intern. So we're indebted to the college interns and the videos they made. And actually, it was a college intern that helped make this one, too. Her name is Brianna. Just as a side note, she attended the Peace Summit in Chicago. She's from Indonesia, and she's helped us bridge some of our work with the Indonesian program. And I'll be talking with Impact Integration about how we can collaborate. So those are some of the tentacles of our work. I guess I'll just leave it open to questions from here. So thank you.
Yeah.